There's somebody just left with my girlfriend.
She had a gun pointed to her?
Yes, I watched it all through my window in my front yard. He had a gun to her, and he forced her into a car. He had on a security shirt.
It's just wild. It's literally like out of a horror movie. Like, that's everyone's worst nightmare, to be kidnapped. And the one place you think you're safe is your home, you know? To just be, it's just terrifying.
Mariam Abdul-Rab was born on April 7, 1994 in Atlanta, Georgia. She grew up in a loving, close-knit family where her warm and cheerful personality was a source of joy. Known for her kindness and nurturing spirit, she especially cherished her role as a big sister, creating deep bonds with her younger siblings. At a young age, Mariam developed a passion for the arts, with sketching eventually becoming one of her favorite pastimes.
She loved drawing. She was an amazing artist.
Her creative nature was later complemented by a vibrant social life as she grew older. Described by her friends as the life of the party, Mariam's lively personality, sharp sense of humor, and talent for connecting with people made her a cherished presence at any gathering. In the late 2010s, Mariam leveraged her natural charisma into a waitressing job at Reverie VR, a popular virtual reality-themed bar in Midtown Atlanta. Shortly thereafter, she took on a second job at a nearby church-themed bar, where her vibrant personality continued to shine. During this time, Mariam's life took an even more exciting turn when she began dating Jerry Antoine. Jerry was an emerging rapper from Southeast Atlanta who also went by the stage name Germ. Their relationship quickly blossomed, and before long, Mariam moved into Jerry's home in Chosewood Park, a quiet residential neighborhood. Their shared home became a place where Mariam found stability as her personal and professional lives flourished. Little did the couple know, their peaceful community would soon become the setting for their worst nightmare. August 12, 2021 began like any other workday for Mariam. That evening, she started her shift at Reverie around 8 p.m., effortlessly engaging with customers and excelling in her role as always. Mariam's shift then ended in the early hours of August 13, 2021, at 4. After helping to close up the bar, she got into her car, preparing for the short drive home. Before leaving, she called her boyfriend Jerry to let him know she was on her way. As soon as Jerry received the call, he got up from bed and settled in the living room, waiting for Mariam to arrive safely. On her way home, Mariam made a quick stop at a gas station to fill up her car. Unbeknownst to her, as she was refueling, a man in an SUV nearby had noticed her. After she resumed her drive home, he discreetly followed her, with sinister intentions in mind. Mariam arrived home around 5 a.m., completely unaware that she had been followed. After parking her car in the driveway, she stepped out of the vehicle and casually walked toward the house. Suddenly, the man from the SUV sprang from his vehicle, rushed toward her, and then grabbed her from behind. Brandishing a gun, he forced a startled Mariam into his car. In a desperate bid to survive, Mariam felt she had no choice but to comply, and got into his SUV as ordered. Having successfully captured his targeted victim, the man quickly sped away, taking off in a frantic escape. As these terrifying events unfolded, Jerry remained inside his home, helplessly witnessing the nightmare. Moments after his girlfriend was kidnapped before his eyes, he grabbed his phone and dialed 911. Despite his obvious distress, he did his best to provide the operator with as many details as possible about the incident. Unfortunately, Jerry couldn't pursue his girlfriend's captor. His car had been boxed in because Mariam had parked in front of it. Additionally, he feared that the man might shoot both him and Mariam on the spot if he attempted to intervene. As the dispatcher processed Jerry's report, he suddenly remembered that Mariam had set up her phone for location tracking. To his dismay, though, when he checked the app, he realized that Mariam had left her phone inside her car. Minutes after the 911 call, several officers from the Atlanta Police Department arrived at Jerry's home to initiate their investigation. As part of their search efforts, the investigators canvassed the neighborhood, asking if anyone had seen where the SUV headed after the abduction. However, given the early hours, no one in the community had witnessed the incident. As authorities tried to look for clues on where the kidnapper might have taken Mariam, another stunning development happened at approximately 6 a.m. Around that time, officers received a call from a woman who reported hearing what she thought were gunshots near Lakewood Avenue and Terrace Way. She described the noise as 4 consecutive loud bangs. While she wasn't entirely certain, she suspected that they were indeed gunfire. Notably, the area that she mentioned was just a short distance from Jerry and Miriam's Chosewood Park home. Knowing that the kidnapper was armed, detectives began to suspect that the gunshots might be connected to Miriam's abduction. With a sense of urgency, they quickly mobilized to the Lakewood Avenue and Terrace Way area to search for Miriam and her captor. Unfortunately, their efforts proved fruitless, as there were no signs of Miriam, her kidnapper, or the SUV in that vicinity. For the next several hours, police officers tirelessly continued their search for Miriam. Meanwhile, Miriam's family and friends were also informed about the shocking events. In their desperation, Miriam's loved ones took to social media, urgently pleading for any information that could lead to her whereabouts. Later that morning, investigators obtained a copy of surveillance footage from a home in Chosewood Park that captured Miriam's kidnapping. Although the video quality was not the best, it at least provided them with a glimpse of the kidnapper's vehicle, which was crucial for their investigation. As officers worked to track down Miriam's kidnapper, 911 received yet another call from a local resident. This one, however, would prove to be the most disturbing. At 9:55 a.m., Robert Nixon called the hotline, explaining that while walking his dog through the neighborhood, he had reached the corner of Lakewood Avenue and noticed an abandoned house there. What he saw near the mailbox of that house froze him in his tracks. It was the body of a woman who appeared to be already dead. Moments after Robert's call, police officers who were already nearby investigating Miriam's kidnapping rushed to the scene. Upon arrival, their worst fears were confirmed. The body was indeed that of Miriam Abdulrab. The location where she was found was just about 2 miles away from her home. With heavy hearts, officers contacted Miriam's family to deliver the tragic news. Yet despite the devastating turn of events, it didn't take long before investigators identified a person of interest in the case. With the help of Jerry's detailed description from his 911 call, the review of CCTV footage from a neighboring house, and a thorough search of police records, authorities identified 27-year-old DeMarcus Brinkley as Miriam's kidnapper and likely killer. Shortly after recognizing DeMarcus Brinkley as a person of interest, officers located his blue 2013 Chevrolet Equinox in Griffin, Georgia. This area was about a 45-minute drive from where Miriam was abducted. Police initially attempted a routine traffic stop so they could question Brinkley. However, it quickly became clear that Brinkley was aware they were onto him. Refusing to pull over, he sped up, igniting a high-speed chase. As Brinkley desperately tried to evade capture, local officers called in state troopers for backup, escalating the pursuit. The chase ultimately came to a halt when Brinkley collided with another vehicle at an intersection. Both Brinkley and the other driver sustained serious injuries from the crash and had to be airlifted to Wellstar Atlanta Medical Center for emergency treatment. While getting his wounds treated, Brinkley was placed under hospital detention for his traffic violation. Although he was the sole person of interest in Miriam's case, authorities at that point lacked sufficient probable cause to formally charge him. However, on August 15, 2021, 2 days into Brinkley's confinement, investigators were able to gather enough evidence to charge him with Miriam's kidnapping and murder. On August 17, 2021, with Brinkley already medically cleared, he was promptly arrested and booked into Fulton County Jail, marking a significant step toward justice for Miriam. The autopsy confirmed that Miriam died from multiple gunshot wounds. Forensic experts also discovered Brinkley's DNA on her body, although it was inconclusive whether she had been violated before her death. Investigators later determined that there was no prior connection between Miriam and her killer, confirming that the attack was entirely random. It was evident that Brinkley had only targeted Miriam after noticing her at the gas station. Based on the evidence gathered, detectives theorized that Brinkley had taken Miriam to the abandoned house on Lakewood Avenue after kidnapping her. It was believed that he attempted to take advantage of her there. Miriam most likely fought back, frustrating him and prompting him to shoot her multiple times in a fit of rage. Despite later being located in the same area, her body wasn't discovered when police first searched Lakewood Avenue after the 6 a.m. 911 call reporting gunshots. Investigators speculated that Brinkley might have initially hidden her body and later moved it near the mailbox before fleeing the scene. As DeMarcus Brinkley awaited trial, disturbing details about his past emerged, sparking outrage throughout the community. It came to light that Brinkley had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and had a history of violent crimes. According to Fulton County court records, in 2012, he was accused of committing a heinous offense against a young individual. A year later, he was caught committing a similar crime and was apprehended soon after. In 2015, Brinkley pleaded guilty to these charges. His defense team at the time linked Brinkley's behavior to a troubled childhood, from being raised as one of 12 children, being removed from his mother's care at a young age, then suffering at the hands of his stepfather. The state of Georgia then recommended a 15-year prison sentence, followed by 15 years of probation. However, in a surprising decision, the judge presiding over the case ultimately sentenced Brinkley to a reduced total of 15 years, 7 years in prison, followed by 8 years on probation. Brinkley was subsequently released from prison in late 2020, and it took less than a year before he committed the horrific crime against Miriam. For Miriam's family and the rest of the community, the reality is heartbreaking. Had Brinkley received the recommended sentence, he would never have crossed paths with Miriam on that fateful August 2021 morning, and she would likely still be alive today. Another troubling flaw that Miriam's family uncovered was that following his release in 2020, Brinkley had never undergone a risk level assessment. This assessment is critical as it categorizes offenders into 3 tiers based on their likelihood of reoffending. Had Brinkley been classified as a level 3 high-risk offender, he would have been subject to more stringent monitoring. This in turn could have potentially prevented the horrific crime he committed against Miriam. When asked why Brinkley never underwent a risk level assessment, the Georgia Offender Registration Review Board attributed the oversight to backlogs resulting from understaffing and insufficient funding. This flaw in the system ultimately inspired Miriam's loved ones to advocate for what they called Miriam's Law. The proposed legislation aimed to require offenders who had not undergone a risk level assessment to wear electronic monitoring devices until their risk level was determined. Once assessed, level 1 and 2 offenders could remove the devices, while level 3 offenders would be required to wear them for the duration of their probation. Additionally, Miriam's Law proposed that offenders carry identification marked with a specific symbol recognizable to law enforcement. In their efforts to promote this law, Miriam's friends and family, led by her brother Ali Abdurrab, actively advocated for it by attending council meetings and engaging with lawmakers. It's unfortunate that tragedies have to occur for change to become a conversation. To think there could be another person capable of doing this roaming freely this second is why Miriam's Law is so important. Initially, they struggled to find support until Atlanta City Council member Keisha Waits stepped forward to back the resolution. Her support galvanized the council, leading to widespread endorsement for legislative changes aimed at enhancing public safety. I am very sensitive to an individual's privacy. I understand that. However, when it comes to a level 3, and only a level 3, offender, I think the dynamics are different. I think it's about the greater public good, and I think in this particular case, I think had we had something like that in place, we could have tracked this individual, we could have monitored him, and perhaps saved her life. After months of committee meetings and votes in both the House and Senate, Miriam's Law passed unanimously. On May 4, 2023, Governor Brian Kemp signed House Bill 1828, officially known as Miriam's Law, into law. While the final legislation did not include the requirement for offenders to carry specially marked identification, it upheld the original proposal regarding electronic monitoring. The signing marked the culmination of extensive advocacy efforts by Miriam's family and supporters. Love always wins. The love that Miriam left behind was a huge part of getting this law into place. To celebrate this significant achievement, several of Miriam's friends chose to get tattoos of the words House Bill 188, expressing their gratitude that their friend did not die in vain. In November 2023, 6 months after the enactment of Miriam's law, DeMarcus Brinkley chose not to proceed to a full trial. With overwhelming evidence against him, he decided to enter a negotiated guilty plea. A month later, in early December 2023, Brinkley was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole for the kidnapping and murder of Miriam Abdul-Rab. His sentence also included charges for his attempt to take advantage of Miriam as well as possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Brinkley is currently serving his sentence at the Georgia Diagnostic and Classification State Prison. Shortly after the sentencing, Miriam's brother Ali reached out to a local news station via text to voice his disappointment regarding the plea deal struck between the prosecutors and his sister's killer. After all this time of waiting for a trial, DeMarcus Brinkley decided to plead guilty for a sliver of hope that he may be granted parole one day after his life sentencing is served. 30 years plus 15. After hearing the details of everything he's done in court, they still let him have the one thing that would keep his time in prison a little more bearable. It's easy to blame the criminal in these scenarios, but the whole reason why my sister was murdered in the first place was because a judge in court didn't take the recommendation from the prosecution for his previous charges. The family had hoped for the death penalty for Brinkley, firmly believing he should never have been released from prison following his 2013 convictions. However, despite their disappointment with the sentencing, they remain grateful to the officers who diligently worked to apprehend him, and to the lawmakers who played a pivotal role in passing Miriam's law. Miriam Abdul-Rab was a vibrant young woman deeply cherished by many. In the days following her tragic death, heartfelt tributes poured in, honoring her memory and the profound impact she had on those around her. Her boyfriend Jerry took to Instagram to express his grief at his girlfriend's passing. The Reverie DR bar, where Miriam worked, closed on the weekend that she passed away to give staff time to grieve. Many of her beloved customers visited the bar, leaving flowers and notes in her memory. She was just so full of life, you know? She was full of life, her energy, her heart. She was just a good person, and every time I walked in this bar, it was just a welcome of all welcomes. She was a person with aspirations and a person who was loved and who loved. It just really sickens me that somebody took her from all that. The church-themed bar where Miriam also worked paid tribute to her as well. In an interview with local news, owner Grant Henry described Miriam as a living jewel who shone, underscoring the deep impact she had on everyone who knew her. Then, on the evening of August 18, 2021, a public vigil was held in Old Fourth Ward Park. Friends, family, and community members came together to pay tribute to Miriam, reflecting on the warmth and light she brought into their lives. A GoFundMe was later established to help cover the family's expenses as they mourned Miriam. Nearly 800 donors contributed, raising an impressive $57,600 for the family. Years after her untimely death, her loved ones continue to honor her memory in meaningful ways. One such tribute is the planting of a black gum tree in Piedmont Park, Atlanta. Miriam's parents specifically chose this type of tree for its remarkable longevity, as black gum trees can thrive for up to 700 years. This choice embodies their wish to create a lasting, living legacy for Miriam, symbolizing both her enduring impact on those around her and the love her friends and family hold for her. Since the planting of the tree, Miriam's family and friends have made it a priority to gather there regularly, cherishing the opportunity to remember her and share their favorite memories. How would you describe Miriam in 3 words? She was selfless, understanding, loving, kind, compassionate, caring, forgiving, generous, positive. Though Miriam's life was cut short, her spirit will forever remain in their hearts. She gave me some of the best friends I could ever ask for. I'm so grateful for that. And she gave me that family and our family, and I just couldn't have asked for anything better. She was kind of the angel on my shoulder at all times. She taught me how to be more open to love overall. She showed me that no matter what, love matters above all. When you say, like, someone has been taken off of Earth too early because they were too good for this world, that's her. She's too good for this world.